Okay, we are live with Steve and Margaret. Thank you both for coming in. And Leslie Kitchen is here. And we need to I just want to jump in. What the heck have you put on the table here? How does somebody win these awesome looking medals? You got to talk to us about this.
All right. So I play badminton at a fairly competitive level. And the group that I play with in Toronto is they like going to tournaments. And so I got the opportunity to go to the U.S. National Senior Games in Fort Lauderdale this past May. And so one of the guys, I had a male partner, and then just happened to pick up a mixed doubles partner, a lady from Chicago. And so I didn't do quite as well as I wanted to in the men's doubles, but with this lady who I'd never met before, never played with before, our styles are really compatible. And anyways, we ended up winning silver medal, second place in the U.S. Senior Games in our age category. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. I could tell by the smile on your face how awesome that was. It was totally cool. And the reason I'm saying it was totally cool is because I saw the pictures and it looked like a blast from what you guys were doing. And so the other medals are the same thing?
So no, for next year's national games, you have to qualify. And so the opportunity came up to go down to Pennsylvania to qualify. And so I went down a month ago and we played, and so I played men's doubles and singles. And so I got a silver in men's doubles and a bronze in singles.
So you've qualified.
So I now qualify for the next summer games, which are in Pittsburgh next July.
Oh, very cool. I had no idea there was such a badminton competitive spirit in you or in North America right now. I didn't know these tournaments were going on.
I'm a bit of a sports addict, so I play hockey in the winter. I play badminton. I'm a sailor. I'll play anything.
Oh, so you're still playing hockey. How old are you, Steve?
I'll be 66 in September.
66. So yeah, my brother-in-law, I think, was playing into his 70s, men's league hockey here in Oakville. And so you're still playing at 66.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like, you slow down after a while, but like I still play with 20 and 30-year-olds.
Yeah,
and I have fun. It's a lifelong sport. Like,
yeah, sure.
All of these things.
I feel hockey too.
Sports.
You're all kind of like, all the pads are on. You're gliding on the ice, as opposed to soccer, which I think is a little more physical. Yeah, very cool. Margaret, so were you participating in all this badminton stuff?
No, I was not.
So you don't have this badminton spirit that Steve has?
No, I played badminton long ago, but he'll play any sport, but he's gravitated to badminton quite a bit in the last 15 years or so. And he loves every sport going.
And how did you two meet Leslie Kitchen? How does this threesome meet each other? Leslie, how do you enter the picture of their lives here? Who's sharing that story?
Well, I could start, I guess. We were all in the money seminar at Landmark and didn't know each other at that time.
So what's Landmark?
Landmark is a worldwide professional training and development organization. I guess that's the best way to say it. They're global, huge. I'm huge into personal development, so very much involved in Landmark, and they are too. So we were in this money seminar, which just happened to be, I guess you just happened to sit beside Michael, my husband, and because Mike and I were in the same seminar, and you got chatting away about real estate. And I don't know, Mike was complaining about all the things that were going wrong with one of our properties, because it was one of the worst real estate experiences that we ever had.
Was that the one you had to gut the carpet out of it? I forget. You were gutting the whole place?
No, it was the one where, well, we probably had to do that too.
Yeah,
this one, we ended up with what started as a rental own, and then the tenants ended up getting addicted to crack cocaine, and after about 3 years, it started to really go downhill. And it was a complete disaster. We had to get them evicted. They left us everything. Their parents had moved in like a couple months before that and left all their life-hold stuff in one of the, like the sunroom, I guess. It was this huge room, the size of this room, if not bigger, actually a bit bigger, just full with boxes and stuff. So it was quite an undertaking just to get that property cleared out, and then we turned it into a secondary suite, and I hired the wrong contractor.
Oh, I remember.
So
you going
that
through
was
this.
that was the part that where it was. The other part was just part of business, right? We go through some of that stuff, but the contractor part was something new for me to hire somebody that was
What did they do? Just ripped you off?
lied. Just kept lying and not delivering and doing poor work, not following codes, and we just ended up in a trial last month for 2 days. Still dealing with this contractor.
Come on, no way.
Yeah, he started the lawsuit while we were still in the middle of our project.
He sued you.
He sued me, and then so we countersued.
Oh my gosh, Leslie Kitchen.
Like knowing
Holy
me,
smokes.
I'd probably
You're
cut my
looking-
losses and move on. But
Yeah.
but he started the whole thing, which made it very complicated. And anyway, it wasn't a fun time, but it was. So at the time we were
Yeah,
in the
so the
middle
joys
all
of
this,
real estate.
we were in this money seminar, and I guess Michael was telling Steve all the horror stories that we were dealing with. I don't know. He somehow was still interested in real estate, and Mike told him to just talk to me. That's how I understood it, but maybe Steve could.
Maybe I better finish the story or complete the story. So we're in this money seminar, which is like they have different seminars. They go for 10 weeks, so 10 sessions. And, we had over 100 people in the seminar. And there's times in the seminar where you partner up and you talk to your neighbor, right? And you share. And so I always like to sit beside somebody different. And so this one week I happened to be sitting beside Mike Kitchen, Leslie's husband. And I was sort of saying, this is a money seminar, right? So we're talking about money. And I was saying, I'm really frustrated with, my investments. They aren't really doing well. And I think, had I read the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book at that? I'm sure I had at that time. And anyways, Mike, he's so funny. He's very straightforward. And he says, I hate financial advisors.
I could see him saying that for sure.
I have no use for them at all. Okay, well, this is interesting. He's an interesting character. Anyway, so it was pretty clear where he was standing on this. And then I said, I've been interested in, maybe doing some real estate investing because I read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And, but whatever, I don't know anything to do. And so anyways, he says, well, that's what my wife does. And she's over there. And so I said, well, okay, I'll go and talk to Leslie at the end of the session. So after the session was over, I go talk to Leslie. And she says, oh, yeah, I do that. I, work for Rockstar. I'm do all this kind of stuff, and I'm interested in investing. And, yeah, I can help you out, no problems. And so that was the start of a great union. And she said, oh, I'll be a coach if you want to go. And so shortly after that, I, came to one of the introductory sessions. We were in person at the time, which was really nice. And it was just like everything came together. It was a no-brainer. It was like, yeah, I signed up right away. It was just like, this is exactly what I want to do. So that was how I met Leslie. That was how I met Rockstar and Mike.
So wait, you just read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad like only a few years ago?
Yeah.
So in your 60s, you read this book?
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And Margaret, you gave Steve, remind me, Steve asked for the book and you gave it to him, or you?
No.
You asked for the
Steve
book.
gave it to me, and then he wanted to read it.
So you passed it back. That this convinces you on the idea.
Life-changing.
Wow.
He was retiring at the time, and then in 2.5 years, we bought 5 properties.
You guys are insane. No. You know how many people come to us in their 40s and say, well, maybe it's too late. Maybe 40s, we only get that something. In their 50s, we definitely get people who are saying, I don't know if I should get into real estate now because it's too late. You guys started in your 60s.
Yes.
Wow. And you feel like it was the right move. I can tell by the expression on both your faces, you feel it was the right move.
Oh, yeah.
And why was it the right move?
Well, Steve was feeling a little uncomfortable with our savings because we wanted to go on bucket list trips, and he wasn't too comfortable and wanted to make some extra cash. And all through his career, he was looking for ways to make passive income, but didn't really have time to investigate it, just wanted to. So
I knew nothing else other than,
The standard stuff.
Trade your time
standard
for
stuff,
money.
right?
When I met you, I think you were playing the cash flow quadrant game or
Yeah.
one of the games.
Yeah, so I read the book, and then I thought, okay, got to take action, right? So the first action I took was to buy the cash flow game that Robert Kiyosaki developed. And so we started playing that with friends and just sort of exploring that a little bit. But that was just sort of all in the head. It really wasn't until I met Leslie and connected up with Rockstar that I really had a path forward to do something. So.
And so the fears of like, because I'm just trying to play this out, in your 60s, a lot of people will come to us and say, well, you know, real estate doesn't always go up. It could go down. Did you have those fears of starting at this time in your life that it might not be the right time? Or was that just not even a thought for you?
That's irrelevant.
It doesn't factor in. Like, we had a friend who knows nothing about real estate, and she said, and her husband, well, why would you go into that at this age? Like, you won't be able to pay these mortgages off. But by then, we had enough education that I was able to say to her, well, it doesn't matter. So what? In the meantime, we reap the benefits, and we have a son who's interested, and he can take it over.
Yeah,
No
wow.
problem.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. And at this time, so this is going to be around the year 2019 that you started?
Yeah.
Yep.
Were you paying attention to the real estate market, the ebbs and flows of it before then, or not really?
No.
Okay.
Our only experience was buying our house
Okay,
in
got it.
Toronto back in 95.
Yeah.
And then what did you start looking, like what was your criteria? Go ahead, sorry.
There is another little experience that predates this, which is quite interesting. So again, we're in another landmark seminar, and this was the success seminar. And the quick story of this is that here's what I took from it. One is that there is no such thing as success. Because what does it mean? It may mean one thing for somebody, may mean one thing for somebody else, right? So there is no.
It's just
such
kind of
thing.
like a bullshit word.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So one week I was there, the guy said, here's a proposal for you. Most people think that when you get the things that you want, then you can do what you want to do, and then you'll be successful.
You'll have what you want.
You'll have what you want. And he says, it's completely opposite. What you have to do is you're successful in your mind right up front. It's who you're being. It's
Who you are as a person.
exactly.
Yeah.
And with that mindset. And then a successful person will take the actions a successful person would take. And then you'll have what you want. So I'm a sailor, and I've been sailing for a long time. And about 6 years previously, we had taken a Learn to Cruise course. So live aboard, learn to cruise out of Penetanguishene. So we're on this boat for 5 days, working really hard because we got a lot of studying to do and so on. And anyway, 6 years later, I thought, well, we should put this to use, and I'll maybe go and charter a boat with, because I'm qualified for it. I looked at the prices. I said, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do that. So I made a decision. I'm going to buy one because there's these programs where you can put them in a yacht management program. So they'll charter the boat out for you. They'll maintain it. They'll do everything. It basically
Got it. Wow.
it sort of pays for itself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like real estate, right? So anyways, I went to the boat show with this success seminar just a week before in my mind. And I say, I'm a successful person. I'm going to go and do what I need to do to get it. So I talked to the charter company and said, oh, what kind of boat would you like? Oh, if we had one of these, we could charter it, no problems. And this is up in the North Channel in Manitoulin Island. So then I went over to the people selling the boats and said, okay, well, here's what I'm looking for. What do you got? Okay, this is it. And I put it all together. And so I was getting everything arranged. And then, of course, I had to call Margaret. I said, okay, well, I'm thinking of buying a boat. Okay. And I was able to answer all of her questions. And then so she came down to the boat show. And within one day, I bought a boat and had it into this charter program. That was my introduction to owning an asset.
Why? You said something really interesting to me there. You said, as you were going into that boat show, you said, well, I'm a successful person. So, you're going to go take action and figure this out. Why did you use that language? Before in your life, would you have entered that conference thinking that you didn't know what to do or that you weren't successful? Like, why did you choose to use those words there?
Absolutely. It was straight out of that seminar that did it. This is not my way of thinking normally.
Got it.
I struggle with this kind of stuff.
I think that's interesting. I don't know. It's interesting for me because I think Nick and myself, maybe there's something, we've never really struggled with it, but maybe because we started in the personal development world young, because we've always just thought, well, yeah, like, I don't know. What does it take to do this? It's kind of like starting this brokerage. It wasn't even like, there was no hesitation. It was just like, oh, these other people don't really like us. We're just going to start our own brokerage. What software do we need? Like, we just kind of did it. And Leslie, you saw this. It was just ridiculous. Now looking back, it was absolutely ridiculous.
It was exciting.
It's interesting for me to hear that, because maybe I had that earlier, but something through my life kind of got rid of that internal type of talk. But then if you carry that with you, I can see how it can hold you back. So it's fascinating to me that you would think that you weren't successful.
Margaret knows, like, this kind of stuff I struggle with an awful lot. So
It
this
was a real
Really,
mindset
Awesome.
shift.
It's awesome that you've made this shift,
Mm-hmm.
and you credit Landmark for this.
that was
One
a
of the
starting
things.
point.
So going to a personal development type, basically, it doesn't matter if it was personal development or not, getting the education or the insights or having someone lay down some thought patterns to make you question your own thought patterns.
Yeah, like often most people think they need money before they can do something so that they can be happy. When Landmark taught us to be happy or be successful first, and then you will get creative ideas to know what to do so that you can have the result.
Yeah, got it. And I guess the next thing then that people struggle with, this is just fascinating to me. The next thing is the people I find struggle with, once they know the right thinking, they don't do. Whereas you seem to have been really good, both of you, from what I can tell, and Leslie, I think you can attest to this, that you seem to be able to then do the things.
He wasn't like that before, though.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay,
No.
got
But
it.
in Landmark, we really got clear that nothing happens without action. So you work on your mindset and then you take action, or something still won't happen.
Yeah, got
It's
it.
about who you're going to be in life, who you're going to be in any circumstances, and out of that, your mind shifts in how you think, what actions you take, because they're completely different than what you would take if you were being somewhere else. So it's who you start with, who you're going to be.
Yeah.
If someone was listening to this, and we'll continue the story, but if someone was listening to this and they weren't ready to take the jump to something like Landmark yet, is there one maybe book that any of you had resonated with that they could just go and pick up? Like for me, and I read it pretty young, it was Think and Grow Rich.
Definitely.
That book I read it and I was like, oh, okay. You can have some thoughts about anything you want. You put it into action, let your subconscious mind kind of work at it. And, as long as you're taking some action towards it, you're going to make shit happen. And it was a great book
It
for
is
me
an
in that
awesome book.
regard.
Yeah.
I have a book.
Yeah, you've read that book as
No, I'm
you
thinking of a book. You're asking.
Oh
for a
yeah,
book?
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
what book are you
The
thinking?
Success Principles by Jack Canfield. And
Yeah, that's a
co-wrote
great
it
one.
with someone. I
That's a great one. I totally forgot about that book. I actually
Yeah.
forget what's in that book entirely, but I remember reading it, enjoying that book.
The Be Do
Where-
Have is in there, and the first
That's
chapter
right,
is on
Be, Do,
take
Have.
100% responsibility,
Yeah, that's the
which
other one.
means don't subject yourself to feeling defeated because of the circumstances in your life.
Yeah, personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility.
Yeah.
and
What
we
was the
have
name
so
of that
much-
one again? I
The
forget.
Success Principles.
Yeah, I forgot. The success.
And we have
great one.
so much within our power and in our control that we can do, but we don't realize it. A lot of us feel defeated, especially by life as it goes along, and we think it's because of the circumstances in our lives, and it's not. And that's really refreshing. That's a book I would recommend for teenagers and young adults, especially.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, all of Jack Canfield stuff is so good, actually. But Success Principles, very cool. So we can pick back up. Sorry, I took us off course there. Just fascinating. So you went into this show, you figured out, hey, what yacht is going to be charted out really easily. You went to the people selling the yacht and said, hey, sell me one of these. You made it work, and it is like a real estate play right there.
It is. That was my first kind of foray into it, right? So we now have a 35-foot, sailboat that we go up on twice a year usually, and it's in a program. It's not a make money kind of thing, but it's paying for itself at this point in time.
Got it. Okay, so then why? I read in a little bit of your story, that you shared with Rockstar members in one of our newsletters. You had some thoughts around the corporate world, or the corporate world wasn't right for you. Where does that come from? Is that just personal thing, or like can you share what your thoughts are around that?
Oh my goodness.
What did you do before? What is your past? Who are you? Why are you here?
All right, I'll keep it short and sweet. After high school, I didn't know what to do, and I was sort of doing different jobs for 2.5 years. Kind of hated it. That was probably my worst time of my life. Finally figured out, like I like the natural world, and finally figured out that I saw my brother having fun at university, so I thought, oh, maybe I should go back there, and realized that I wasn't a stupid person, like I could do this kind of stuff. So I quite enjoyed university. Ended up getting an undergrad degree in geography and a master's of environmental studies. And then I worked in the field, but I never enjoyed the work world. It didn't
the structure of it?
Yeah, the structure of it was a big thing. I liked the freedom and flexibility of university. I liked learning. I liked following what I was interested in.
You liked living.
Yeah, I like living. Yeah, and none of the things that I cared about living wise, I made any money at. Like, I couldn't make any money at sailing. I couldn't make any money at badminton. I couldn't make, I had no interest. I had no joy at all through my career. So I probably carry a lot of disappointment, like regret for a waste of, 30 years or whatever. I worked, for the most part, I worked for the Department of National Defense, running their environmental program.
Huh.
So that was...
What does that mean?
That means that they're a large federal department. They need to follow all the environmental rules and regulations that are set out, and I was advising them on that. So cleaning up contaminated sites, dealing with species at risk, any of those environmental issues, hazardous materials, water and waste management.
And so you do this your whole career here in Ontario? You're based out of Ontario here?
Yeah, I was working at the headquarters in Toronto.
Okay.
Looking after the Army, so CFB Petawawa, CFB Kingston.
Okay. Traveling there every day?
Not every. Yeah, no.
No.
No, I was at the headquarters. So we had staff.
No, sorry. You were living but going through traffic every day to get to this job?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Got it.
Normal.
And you're working in that job for how many years?
27.
27 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And he traveled to all the bases in Ontario because he was the Ontario person.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you know a lot of what happens in Ontario with regards to our military.
Yep.
Oh, good. Mental note.
That's okay. It's fading.
Yeah, is it? Well, you can say whatever you want to say. Okay, so and then that was and then you is that what you retired from?
Yes.
Okay, so you retired from that.
Yeah.
At what age?
60.
Almost 4 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 62.
Oh, wow. Seems like a distant memory, eh?
Yeah.
Margaret knows. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then what was the prompt to get you to Landmark? Like, how did you get to this Landmark thing? Was that a Margaret thing?
No. So
Yeah.
we had a financial advisor.
Okay, yeah, Margaret. I heard Margaret just say yes. Yeah.
We had a financial advisor. We still have a financial advisor.
Oh, don't tell Michael. Don't tell Michael.
We do too, though.
Yeah. Oh, please. Okay.
And at that point in time, when we started with this person, Margaret retired from teaching, and our son went off to school. And so she was kind of at home, kind of wondering what to do. And so this person who had done some Landmarks courses had recommended that to her. And so Margaret well, you can tell the story.
I was into it for about a year and a half, and I had qualified as an introduction leader at that point. And then Steve decided finally to be part of it, and he hasn't looked back.
Got it. So, Margaret, how did you get into that? What drew you to this kind of thing?
I've always been interested in personal growth. And I was at a point in my life where two big things had happened, and I was feeling pretty down. Like, my son had left for university. We only have one child. And I had retired after putting in an extra 4 years already in teaching. And so so I was ready and for something. And so, I went into that. And they have weekend courses, but then they have other more intense year-long programs. And I'm really glad I did it. I was with them for 3.5 years. And
Oh, wow. I feel like it's a great commercial for Landmark.
it helped me a lot.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so then you're in Landmark, you get pulled to Landmark, you meet Michael Kitchen. Michael Kitchen says, hey, I'm not the brains of the operation when it comes to real estate. You need to meet my wife. I'm not putting words in his mouth.
No,
And
that's good.
Leslie was there. And then when you started to go look at properties, were you just listening to everything Leslie shared, or did you have something, hey, we are specifically looking at this, or were you just like, Leslie, take it away?
So no, I did the introductory thing, joined Rockstar, went to all the basic courses, and it was really interesting.
We like to call them super advanced expert courses. Okay? Just for clarification, anyone listening, Steve mentioned basic courses. They're super advanced, top-notch, A+ courses, but go on. I'm joking with
They are.
Go on.
So I went to the Rent Your Home Fast.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. There was a guy there, and he said, I'm so frustrated. I can't get any houses, and I've been with Rockstar for 2 years or so on.
Whoa.
And I just can't find the right house. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, this is like, you just got to do it. You got to just go buy a house and figure out things as you go. And that sort of stuck in my mind. So anyways, I did the course. Leslie and I, the three of us, we sat down, met, had that initial meeting, figured out what we were going to do. And I said, well, I need to go and look at a few houses. So we went out twice, I think. Just
2 or 3 times as
Did Leslie take you
education.
on one of her marathons?
Oh, she's great. She is.
No, Leslie's incredible, because a marathon with Leslie, I don't know if you still do that, Leslie, but Leslie would go
Occasionally.
take people at 10 properties, and Nick and I would break after like 4 to 6 properties. We're like, hey, listen, that's enough for today. But Leslie would just keep going.
Leslie's so great, and we're on the same wavelength, right? Like, I'm okay going 10 to 10 properties, and we'll both walk into a house and say, no, that's it, bye. Or we'll walk in, we'll look around, and this is great, this is great, this is great. And it's like we really kind of connect that way. So I don't have any problems with going to see 10 properties in one day.
Hey, you said something really interesting there. It's funny, in this seat where we are at Rockstar, Leslie and I both get to see people, and some people will join us and they will buy a property within 48 hours of joining Rockstar. Other people will be here for 4 years, like that gentleman you mentioned, and say, I just can't find the right property. I don't know what these guys are talking about. No properties cash flow. I don't know what they're talking. So in their world, and nothing works. In someone else's world, they're taking action, and by the time this person has had 4 years pass, another person is on their 5th or 6th property.
Mm-hmm.
And so much of life, I find, just for me, it's been very instructive, because I find so much of life is just what you tell yourself. If you sit there and just tell yourself nothing's possible and you're never going to find anything, that's literally what you will produce for yourself. If you tell yourself, you know what, maybe I don't know everything, like Steve, like you're implying there, but I need to take action. I'm going to figure it out. And other people seem to be figuring it out around me. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Then stuff happens.
And you're right.
Yeah, it's really just amazing to see. And I kind of always knew that in life, but to see it from this seat with people who enter at the same stage and then have different results a few years later, it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And everyone's at their own stage in life, and they have to go through their own kind of process to get there. But good on you. So what was the first property you purchased? Where was it?
So I didn't, my gut said that this was right, but how I do it, I didn't quite know. That's why I relied on Leslie for. So she said, well, let's look at Barrie. It's a good community, and it's close enough that we can manage it, right? So we went up to Barrie and found a house, a nice 4-bedroom side split near Georgian College. And so we put in the offer and did it. And then I was talking to an accountant or somebody, and I said, or found out that if you only have one house, like, you can't claim your travel expenses and all that kind of stuff, right? Because it's only one house. But if you have 2, then you can claim everything from the government. And so I thought, well, let's get 2 houses. So we went up and got another house, and anyways, and it closed 2 weeks after the first one, which caused us real problems with the financing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because
That was the first big challenge.
Yeah.
because Dan said, well, the bank's not going to really like that. So we bought the one house, had the mortgage, but the second house we had to pay cash for.
Wow.
That was a bit of scrambling.
Wow. Okay, so you pulled that off. It sounds like you have that house.
Yeah, we had enough background and enough. Margaret had a bit of an inheritance, and we've got a good HELOC because we own a house in Toronto, thank goodness. And so, anyways, we made that one work.
Oh wow, you went all in. Holy
Yeah.
smokes! That house today. Sorry, I want to hear more of the story. That house today, is it still 100% cash, or have you been able to refinance it and pull some money back?
No, a couple of months later,
You were able to pull it.
we
out.
were able to get the mortgage on it.
Oh, you were okay.
It was just because the timelines were too tight
tight.
that
Got
we
it.
had to
Okay.
delay
Wow.
that.
Good for so 2 houses, both operating as rental properties. Is
So the first one was rent to own because I thought, well, I want to learn the business, so go through that. And I actually filled the second house first, and then the first house I couldn't fill it because it was close to Georgian College. I had a ton of college students, but I didn't want college students, right? I wanted to do rent to own, and it doesn't suit them. So I didn't. I went through the first part, wasn't able to get tenants for it, and then we went away on a big trip to New Zealand. And so this house was vacant for about 5 months.
Oh wow.
And I did a bit of renovation. I put a new floor in the basement and, painting and stuff like that. Anyway, so we came back from New Zealand and then was able to find some tenants. We actually raised the rents because in that time period, things had changed. The house prices had changed, so we raised that. And then I was able to find some great tenants. It was...
Were you freaking out while you were gone on this trip with a vacant house?
No, there's no point.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you. Both. Wow.
no.
But the surprise was when we came back and Leslie said, well, you should raise the rent because the house prices have gone up a lot. And then we didn't end up losing any money.
Oh my God.
Even though it was empty for 5 months. It was
Good for
amazing.
you both. Holy smokes. You couldn't rent it out before. Leslie comes and says, you know what? You didn't rent it out before at the lower rent, but I think you should raise the rents right now.
See?
Good for you for listening, and good for you, Leslie, for advising that way. Wow. Okay, so you rent this house. So you have these 2 houses, but now I think you're up to 4 houses already.
No, we've got 5.
Oh, 5. Okay, so tell us. So how do you get to the next 2?
So
Leslie, jump in. I don't mean to do all the talking.
No, that's
there.
fine.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm originally from London,
Okay.
Ontario, and so I wanted to have a reason to go back there. So I wanted to buy a house in London. So we went, and there's a builder there who does turnkey stuff and pretty decent. So actually, this one was interesting because it was right at the start of COVID, and we weren't so afraid of COVID. But anyway, so we went down there, and he said, "Well,
Shame on you.
yeah, I know."
But that's okay. We'll let that slide.
So we went down there, and he said, "Well, I don't know what's going to go on with COVID, so I'll give you what was it, $30,000 discount?"
It was
Yeah,
Oh, so that was really at the
discount.
beginning because it was only a short window
was-
where everybody
yeah.
panicked in the real estate market, right?
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
right at that
It was
time.
March,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this closed in June, so it was right at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so yeah, that sounds good. So there's basically $30 of value of asset value right there, without doing anything. So that one really worked, and so we thought then we want to get another one. So this was right at the end of his fiscal year. So he said, "Well, we'll give you a $50,000 discount on this one."
Wow.
At that time of year makes a difference with that builder.
Yeah.
That when you
Are these student rentals? No, regular rentals.
Are they all?
first one was student rental. The second one is also student rental.
By what university or college there?
Western.
Western.
But the first one could be is a hybrid. It could be either.
Oh, it could be operated as
yeah,
a student
either-
rental or
yeah.
like a
It's a
family home.
it's a duplex.
A duplex. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. It's great to have those kinds of options. Okay, good for you. Wow. 30,000 discount on the first one, 50,000 on the second one. You're rolling.
So the third one,
When's the third one?
it
Same
was-
time?
No.
No, it
was-
was like a year later.
April.
So
Oh, you're really
first one-
dragging your feet now.
yeah, first one was June, second one was August, and then the next one, I think we were looking at it in January,
Close.
and he'd raised the prices quite a bit.
Yeah, because by that time the real estate market started rocketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have to credit them for taking action at the time of COVID and when other people were just kind of freaking out and and it worked to your advantage. It's kind of like where we are right now, like in this lull, but it's actually an opportunity for some, right? Yeah.
So anyway, so I went to see the third one. I thought, oh, this is nice, you know, works and so on. But it was obviously more expensive. And so I had to go back. We saw it on a Friday. I had to go back. And then I thought about it. And then finally on Wednesday, I said to Leslie, okay, yeah, let's go for it. Whatever, you know, like you just got to do this. Right?
Whatever. I'll pay cash if I have. Just get me another one.
So Leslie goes back to the guy and he says, oh, I'm raising the price $20,000.
From 5 days before.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
not happy.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of real estate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we negotiated. He brought it down 10,000. So he basically raised it 10,000 from when I saw it, and we went for it and
Thanks
bought that.
to Leslie
Wow.
for
Wow.
stepping in.
Yeah. Leslie's just
Oh
like
my goodness.
I was going to say a monster, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like I meant like she's just strong, like she's going to, you know, get in there and get shit done. You know, she's
Yeah, but she's such a stand for the client.
Yes,
like there
she
is,
is.
you know, so
Yes.
if you're naive, don't
Yeah.
worry. You've
Leslie
got her
has
on your
back.
side.
Yes, Leslie, yeah, and everyone who knows Leslie knows that about her, and so that's like the feedback that we've all had here. Everyone at Rockstar knows Leslie, and everybody bows down to Leslie's work ethic and how. No, really, this is the truth. I don't know if Leslie, you know this, but everybody's just like, I don't know how Leslie does what she does. She's amazing. And then on top of her work ethic, just so patient in explaining to new investors and people who need a concept explained for maybe the 20th time. You know, when you've been doing this business, sometimes you just feel like kind of slapping yourself in the head, like, oh my gosh, am I really explaining this again? But Leslie just is the best at just slowing things down, going through the process, and standing up for people. So, Leslie, you set the bar.
Yes.
You set the bar.
Well, what's
Leslie
real-
doesn't know what to. Yeah.
Yeah. What's really nice is we've developed a friendship over the period of 2.5 years or whatever, and so.
Well, I'm sure if the badminton rackets come out, you're not friends. Crush her. You just, okay.
Hey,
Steve, let's cut to-
she'd be my teammate.
Yeah. Okay. There we
She'd
go.
be on my side, right?
So you get this fifth property. This is what this last one is, a student rental by Western as well.
No, it's a mix.
Okay.
One side of it is
So it's like
There's
a
mostly
side.
students in it, and
Okay.
then
working people.
Okay.
and
So it's
the
a
other
side by side duplex.
No, this one's
Up and down.
up.
Yeah,
Oh, up and down. Oh,
down.
okay. Got it.
Yeah.
It used to be a back split. so,
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. So 3 in London, 2 in Barrie. Is that
Twinberry and the boat.
Oh yeah, and the boat. Holy. Okay. And then now, I guess looking back at this point, because it started in 2019, you're only like 3 years in. This is ridiculous how fast you're taking stuff. I guess if you look back to 2019, are things developing and working out how you had hoped when you decided to get into real estate?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And why is that? Not much time has passed. So like, why is it? Is it just that you like having the assets? Is it the income stream, or is it just like what is
Yes
it about
and
it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're cash. These properties are cash flowing
Cash
for
flowing.
you.
Yes, they're cash flowing, and we bought really good houses in good neighborhoods, and we have good tenants, and that's
Yeah. Awesome.
because of Rockstar.
Yeah.
That we
Yeah.
knew
I
what
think
to
you
do
would have
and how
figured
to
it out
do
with or without
well, we would
Rockstar,
have,
but
but we might have needed some hard knocks to figure it out.
yeah. Okay. So it's the cash. So it's the income stream and the asset.
Knock on wood, because your time it can be coming where you don't have a good tenant.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we all go through that,
Yeah.
even after
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, our roughest investor is actually somebody who gets their first property and rents it out like on day one. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing. Rockstar, can I tell you, Rockstar is the best. Then they decide to get the next property. If it doesn't rent out like on day one and it's, they're 2 or 3 weeks in and they haven't rented out, they're like, I bought this piece of shit. I don't know what I got sold here. The market's completely saturated. Nobody's renting out at these prices anymore. So it's almost better when some investors have some crazy bad story that they survive through, because it sets the tone. You're like, okay, if I survive that, I can survive anything.
Well, 5 months not having
Yeah.
rental, and
No, you guys hit it.
know,
You guys,
and then-
you just handled it so beautifully that it didn't sound like a crazy story. But 5 months of vacancy
well,
on your
we were a bit nervous before our trip.
yeah.
And
Walking-
we had gone through a lot. Like, you had several open houses and lots of people go through it.
yeah.
But he knew what he wanted. So, for clientele,
Perfect.
and he wasn't going to settle.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
And we
so
all have
glad.
those moments when you're a real estate investor renting out your own properties. I remember Nick and I, this is an old story now, but Nick and I had rented out 9 properties on the first showing. And we thought we were superheroes. We're like, oh my God.
Remember that?
Like, I guess we're the best. We got this like figured out. And JP Hunt, who was new on our team, we were teaching him how to rent properties. And we had this one we were doing for an investor that they had said, hey, we don't have the time. Can we hire you to do it? I'm like, perfect. I want to teach JP Hunt how to do this. We'll do it. No problem. In my head, I'm like 1 showing, maybe 2 if I'm not having an off day. On the way to this one was in Hamilton. I'm like, JP, I'll show you how this is done. We get there, don't get it filled on the first time, don't get it filled on the second time. We are 3 months deep, going to this property twice a week for 3 months, and finally, and you know what? It was a beautiful property. It was the kind
I
that you would
remember
think
that property.
you would
I
think.
still remember where
Yeah.
that is. Yeah.
Yeah, you would think, no problem, that'll rent out, great lot, everything's amazing. And finally rented out, and you just don't know when you're going to get hit with one of these curveballs where life just says, okay, you think you're the best, eh? Well, we'll teach you about the real estate market. But you got to just stick with it. So,
Darn life.
yeah, darn life, these goddamn lessons. Why do they have to keep popping up? So good. Yeah, good on you. So I guess now, so it's with what you read in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, is it lining up to what you're seeing now as real life real estate investors? Like, you know, those concepts of owning assets and, you know, creating streams of income. Is it matching what you thought it would be?
Yeah, we feel like we're working on getting out of the rat race, which was the part of the game. That cash flow game taught us a lot about real life.
And your accountant that you've had, did you have an accountant, the same accountant for a long time?
Yeah.
And so what did your accountant, because now they're saying a big shift in what you're doing. How were they with this? Were they worried for you or no?
No, he's
He's dealt with everything.
Yeah, got
he
it.
just does our taxes, and yeah.
So then what would both of you tell yourself, if you could speak to your 30-year-old selves or 35 or 40, like what would you tell yourselves back then in the mindset that you were in back then? Or were the people that you were back at that age just not right for real estate at that time?
Well, what we're telling our son and our nephews and niece is probably answer to that question.
Yeah, so what is it? What is it that you're telling them?
Well, they're finding it really hard to get into the market, and some of them really want to, and they're saving their money. And we're trying to help them by educating them, playing the cash flow game with them, offering to do joint ventures with them.
Oh, cool.
Because there's ways to get into the market, but you need help. We needed help from Leslie. We needed it. And when we were in our 30s, we did not have this education, this the right mindset. You know, we were raised in families where possibility was kind of a word that was never used. It was always look for what won't work and then don't even entertain the idea.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. The mindset's so important. So the
Yeah.
fact that you're just giving them that alone
Yeah,
is probably
exactly.
more valuable than anything to do with real estate. But if you're giving them that, and then on top of that, I guess younger people we see are doing a lot of what they call now as house hacking, where they're like living in, you know, the top floor or the basement and renting out a part of the house. And that's kind of how some younger people are getting into the housing market.
I guess one of the things is with our son, he's 26, no, just turned 27. Is like, I'm really open with what we're doing. Like, he's helped me build the spreadsheets as to figure out, you know, like how everything works, right? Like all the numbers and how it all fits together. And he's very much, he knows everything about it. And it's so fun to include him because then he gets to be part of it and he gets to help. And then he understands what's going on.
He's learning in real time.
Oh, my
It's
goodness.
not like a course he's taking. He's learning in real time.
And he wants to go with us to house inspections, and now he's invested in
Awesome.
the family estate, you know, what he can.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. I'm happy for you guys. I mean, this seems like a big change in the last, 4 or 5 years. Not that your life was really bad before that. I guess I'm just happy you've done something new, something that maybe you thought you couldn't do, you know?
And that's the role model we want to set for our son and our nieces and nephews too, because, I don't know, we've had role models where life kind of stopped at retirement.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
know, I mean,
That's
they put in 20, 30 years more, but
yeah.
no more adventures, just, you know, maybe a little bit of traveling from on your bucket list, but nothing to contribute to society.
And Margaret is a great inspiration around that. Like,
Why?
I'm always inspired by
Why?
what she's up to, because she's taken on her skills as a teacher, and she's out there. Like, she's been going to other countries, and she's started her own business. And
Oh, what are
it's,
you
like,
doing in other
really-
countries?
I'm helping teachers teach better.
Oh, wow. So where do you go? What's an example of something you've done?
I've been to Holland, for example, which is where my parents immigrated from.
Oh, very cool.
And I got to do demonstration lessons with 2 different age groups. I brought a Canadian friend who speaks no Dutch, and I went into a Dutch school and did the lessons in Dutch. And then
Oh, wow.
I taught teacher workshops, 2 of them, all within a 2-week period. And then we did a performance for the parents. And it was all about social emotional learning, and tied in with the curriculum and with where the kids were at. A lot of the kids in those classes were immigrants' children. And so we did a whole, what's called an educational drama, living inside a story to really understand the immigrant experience, what it was like to leave your home and the journey, and what it's like to settle into a new place. And that opened up the students who had those personal experiences. And then we put that in a performing art form, but it was all very organic. And the parents saw themselves and their children there for the first time and felt heard and listened and included
Oh, wow.
in that new culture.
Holy smokes, Margaret. You're a very nice person to be doing all this stuff. Good for you. But you're living. Like, you're doing
Yeah.
stuff. Like, this is kind of what matters.
Yeah.
I think it keeps you young as well. You know, when you both said that you were brought up in different ways where you didn't know what the possibilities in life could be, so that just seemed normal to you, I guess, because you were brought up that way. So, like, I'm just sorry, I'm just trying to comprehend this. So, like, so you would have the mental thought that if you wanted to, like, buy real estate or start your own business or quit the job and do something else, that you couldn't do that, or you
Yeah.
shouldn't do that. That's like a
The
thought.
risks were too high.
Uh-huh.
You would fail.
Got it.
And how are you going to support yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And it really came down to, how are you going to make ends meet? You know, work was everything. My parents immigrated with nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and they had to start everything from scratch. And so that's where it was coming from. And they left a war-torn country, you know, right after the Second World War. So that mindset was kind of developed.
And they weren't leaving a country that was very entrepreneurial or where people were doing this. So then when they came to a new country, it was more about mitigating risk and just having some savings and don't take a lot of risk. Otherwise, you might die of some sort of famine.
Exactly.
Right? Because that's that's kind of their life. That's weird. I wonder what freaking biases I'm passing on to my children. Jesus.
So whereas with my parents,
Good.
it's kind of like all about, well, you got to look good. You know, you got to get into a respectable job.
Yeah,
you gotta
there's a lot of that. Yeah.
stand
Yeah.
up in the community.
It's a little bit of a show.
It- It doesn't matter what you want to do or what interests you. It's, you know, you got to be respectable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my father wanted one of us, and I think me specifically, being the oldest son, to be a lawyer. Wanted to tell his friends, you know, my son's a lawyer. For whatever reason in the Croatian community at that time, that was like, my son he's a lawyer, you know? And I knew I was never going to be a lawyer. I'm like, listen, I'm not doing that.
So would you make a good lawyer?
I don't think I'd make a great lawyer. No, it just bore me to tears, you know? But I'd look at people's problems and say, really? This is why we're here? Go outside, enjoy the sun. But yeah, I think you're right, Steve. A lot of it is image as well, right? Your status in the social community, you know, the social network. What is your status? And your job has some of that kind of status. Like, I wonder back in the day when everybody was entrepreneurial, but had their they were the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. If that was I guess that was going on then too.
Way back.
Yeah, way back. So we're just ingrained in that. Like, that's just part of who we are as humans, you know, trying to kind of peacock a little bit and just show who you are.
So I had this long-standing frustration with the work world. And that's when I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's what struck me the most. It wasn't the real estate stuff. It was the the insights over life and how to live life, and that there was another option there. I didn't realize that, and that's what stands out to me.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think now over the last 10 years, and maybe the last 5 years even more so, having the ability to just travel, kind of as we do and do what we want in life. I'm talking about my family and maybe Nick's family. Sometimes it's hard to come back to Canada and then see how everybody is kind of like in a robotic rut. Mm-hmm. And I feel like sometimes like shaking some people, saying like, you're sleepwalking, like there's more. Yeah. You can do it. Stop what you're doing, and you're making me crazy watching you be crazy. You know what I mean? Selfishly, can you please fix yourself up? It's bothering me. But what a selfish person I am. But yeah, like as you start to live more and you're on your boat and you have some properties and you're winning these tournaments and you're traveling, and you start to realize, wow, life is amazing. Mm-hmm. There's amazing people out there, and there's so much joy to it, and there's like freedom, and it's colorful, and you want everybody to see it that way. So when you run into people who don't, it kind of weighs on me a little bit. I kind of feel for them. It's sometimes a little bit of a struggle. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe it shouldn't be, but anyway.
It's hard to. So you're saying it's hard to watch people in their robotic.
Because you just know that. It's not that difficult. Like one rental property bought at the age of, let's say, 30, 35, even 40, 45, almost at any age. You guys are proof that it's at any age, actually. One rental property is enough to really change your finances. Like one property. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hold it for a few years. You're going to be able to refinance it, or even if it doesn't go up, even if it comes down in value, over time, there's going to be some value there. And, by renting it out, you're going to have the mortgage paid off. There's going to be some tax deductions. At some point, there's going to be cash flow. Even if you don't start with cash flow, at some point, there's going to be cash flow. Mm-hmm. One property can like change your life. So to me, it just seems like, hey, listen, just get like a little bit of financial education. Grab one property. It'll change your whole financial future. But so many people, even from that thought, can't get there. Mm-hmm. They can't get there. They're just like, well, the price might go down tomorrow. Mm. And I'm like, who cares about tomorrow? Think of the next 10 years. Stop with the short-term thinking. Yeah. And I think something that's benefited me accidentally in life, I've always thought long-term. Mm. Like I've always thought long-term about my education, about my career, my job, my investment. I've always just thought long-term. It's never been for now. Mm-hmm. Like I've never done anything for immediate gratification. It's always been, I've done the regular things when you're young for immediate gratification. I shouldn't say that, but I just mean in overall, reflecting back, I'm like, I always have just thought, well, I should quit my job now, because over the long term, it's gonna suck at the beginning, but over the long term, it's gonna be amazing. I should buy a rental property now, because at the beginning, it's gonna suck. I have to fill it. There's not gonna be much. There'll be a bit of cash flow, but not much. I got to deal with bankers who I hate. You got to get insurance on the property. You have to deal with some tenant problems. But over the long term, it's beautiful. Yeah. So long-term thinking to me has been like this most magical way to approach life, and I don't mean that from an arrogant point of view. I just mean I feel like it's benefited me personally, anyway.
And you're an anomaly.
Yeah, I
think what you're seeing in the world that's frustrating is that people don't have that long-term thinking.
Yeah, and I think the society that we live in predisposes you to think short-term because you're always fed fear. Yes. Don't do this, the stock market could collapse. Don't do this, the real estate market could collapse. Don't quit your job, you won't have any security, you won't have your pension. So we're just fed fear, fear, fear. Mm-hmm. And I feel like by nature, we're predisposed to listening to those fears. And you really have to work on yourselves like you guys have, and Leslie, like you always have, to shut down that old part of your brain, your amygdala, to say, hey, listen, you better calm down here. I'm in charge. You're not fucking in charge. You know what I mean?
So there's two sides to that. One is shutting down the bad messages, and the other is promoting the good messages. So Leslie asked me at one point in time, what are you doing this for? And so part of what I'm doing it for is obviously financial security for our immediate family, but I'm also looking at financial security for our family at large. So that's where, I've talked to a nephew, his mom said to me half a year ago, said, oh yeah, he's so frustrated, he's renting a condo here in Toronto, and he just can't get into the market. And I said, well, maybe there's a way to do that. Like, why not? So I sat down with him and talked to him. I actually invited him to an introduction at Rockstar, which he came to. And he said, oh my goodness, my eyes are being opened. And now he's working with a real estate agent.
Awesome.
Going to get into the market. Now, Margaret said earlier, I'm open to doing joint ventures with family as well. But, it looks like he's probably, got lots of good savings and a good income, so he can probably do it on his own. But, like, somebody needs to help these people to carry through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a few conversations with different family members to say, okay, here's an opportunity and I can help you out with that.
That's to me, the most satisfying thing about what we're all doing here together. Like the fact that Leslie and Michael sat next to you and had that conversation with you, and now you're talking to your nephew, and hopefully one day your nephew talks to his friend who doesn't think he can get in the market. And to me, that's how we make change.
Yeah.
It comes from the bottom up. Not that we're all the bottom. We're obviously amazing people. Okay, we're amazing people.
No, but that's a snowball effect. It's
That,
just
to
so
me, that's the power.
beautiful.
That's the powerful way to get this done between each other. Where that I feel is very impactful. So that's
Like
cool.
the sense I get is the four of us sitting around the table here each have a purpose in the world. Like we have a reason or something we're trying to accomplish in our lives. And that's the sense, like knowing each of us, that there's something there that's driving us forward and wanting to do something worthwhile in the world.
I think you just naturally want to help your fellow person. You just want to help your fellow neighbor. Ultimately, we all want to help, and I think there's a certain satisfaction that comes from that as well. So it could be selfish of us, and rather arrogant to think we can help. But then there is like a satisfaction that comes from, when you help. How many investors have you helped now? Oh my gosh, I can't even count. Huh? Leslie has been involved in, it's got to be hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate investment at this point. But there's that satisfaction that comes from it. If you don't get that satisfaction, you stop.
Well, for me, like I had that intention. Like it's really gratifying me just hearing Steve say what he said about sharing with his nephew and his nephew May, and then you elaborating that could go, that snowball effect. Because my purpose in life is to inspire and empower people to achieve success and have their impact on others make a profound difference. So that to me is that it. Like maybe I helped you, or maybe I inspired you to take action. Maybe I, empowered you to do it. But the beauty of it is now they are experienced. They can take that.
Totally.
And for me,
Snowball.
that is like, that's my purpose.
Yeah. Your legacy.
And I love that. Yeah, I live for that.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. So many people would say something like that. And, I know some people would be skeptical. Leslie Kitchen is talking these words for 15 years. I guess I've known you now. And I've heard them from day one.
Yep.
From the first time I saw you tying balloons on the top of an open house sign in Oakville. I knew you were different. Cool. So, we'll start to wrap up here. Is there anything else that you wanted to share, that we wanted to cover, that would come to mind to you, or have we covered what we wanted to discuss today?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to just underline the importance of the mindset, right? It just is everything. And I like to do that for leaders too. Like I would help business leaders who are working with teams and they, struggle with that interpersonal stuff all the time. And it feels often like you're stuck and you can't get your team to work together, to have that synergy, to move the projects forward so that your vision can be realized. So I love doing that my niche is working with teachers and principals, but I love to work with teams and it's about mindset and self-care, because we neglect ourselves when we feel there's projects that are urgently needed to be done.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
And then other problem-solving strategies, people just don't have them.
Mm-hmm.
So those three things.
And I think you really hit on something earlier when we were talking about, it's who you are as a person. I forget the way you said it exactly, but, you kind of are enough as you are,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people just can't gather that.
No, they don't think they're good enough.
Yeah, and then a lot of people are waiting for the perfect moment to feel happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is, and I'm like, you just like, listen, there's always going to be bullshit. You better just be happy in the middle of the bullshit.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like
It just doesn't go away. The bullshit just doesn't go away. I guess sometimes if you're more financially secure, I have to admit, being a bit more financially secure has allowed me to laugh off more bullshit. So there is some value in having your finances set, you know, because when Nick and I really had nothing, and if there was a problem with one of our properties, we would literally crap our pants. You know, like we knew we would get through it, but there was like, holy shit, like what is happening? Whereas, you know, now it's a little different. So there is some value. I'm not going to lie here. There's some value to have your finances kind of in good order, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then read this book, Margaret, that you mentioned, The Success Principles. If you're struggling with that, I read that so long ago. I just had flashbacks when you said it. That the be, what was it? Be do have. Or
Be
whatever?
do have.
Yeah, the be do have that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And Steve, anything else?
Yeah, like a lot of it sounds good. You know, I'm at the point where we've sort of hit the extent of our cash in a lot of ways. You know, so I've got to reset my mind to figure out where am I going in the future? What am I doing? I know it was a VIP event where they asked, you know, I'd asked people for some input, and they said, well, you got to figure out what it is you want and where you want to go, and then that'll determine your path. And those are hard questions for me. Those are really hard questions for me. I've been thinking about that ever since I was at that event. And, you know, do I find ways of doing the joint ventures? Do I find ways of what? And what's point? Like, what am I trying to accomplish in the big picture? You know, so I've got to ask myself those questions and move forward that way. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Yeah.
Still, I think like to have a couple more properties, but anyways, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, but you've kind of you've done that. You're there when the next property opportunity comes up. I think you're at the point now where you're figuring out just what's going to make you happy and you know, how do you kind of get there? It's tough. Sometimes I think I just would be happy at this point going to Croatia and building rock walls. No, I'm not even, and I'm like, you know, just being in the sun, having some nice fish and meat and olive oil and hanging out outside and not doing anything else. You know, it doesn't take much, I think, to be happy, you know? I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you know the country, you know there's a lot of rock walls and a lot of them are in disrepair. Someone needs to go fix them. So I'm nominating myself for the job. Sorry.
I think it's valid about, you know, getting that clarity though of what you want to accomplish from it. Like, why purchase another property? What is it going to allow you to do in life?
Yeah, it's not always the right answer.
It may not be the right, it may not need to, right? Like, it depends on, that's why I think you're struggling with it, and figuring that out is, where is it going to take you? Is it going to help you with your purpose of helping your family? Or you had talked about, you know, donating to other charities that you feel strongly about and stuff like that. So I think that's what you have to figure out, is if that's going to get you there, or
yeah, and it's tough. So I feel for you,
Yeah.
Steve. When you figured it out for yourself, send us a smoke signal or something.
Exactly.
Because then the rest of us, it can, you know, feel happy that somebody figured it out for themselves, you know?
Well, I tell you, one thing I do like doing is playing my sports.
Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah.
And we'll
I didn't
go
want
on
to tell you, but I'm a mean badminton player. So
Are ya?
No, I'm joking. I'm totally joking. Yeah, you would crush me. You would crush me. His competitive spirit got right up there. Hey,
Yeah.
it's Margaret too.
He was about to play you a game.
Yeah. So you got to keep doing this. That's for sure.
Yeah, and like I say, I'm a sailor, so I you know, go in competitions there. You know, I play hockey. I love playing hockey, so I've got lots of sports.
Yeah.
And we have
going.
some money to do our bucket list trips now.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
Very
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Leslie, any last words?
No, I just want to thank Steve and Margaret. It's been a pleasure working with you. And I always want to thank Tom, because, you know, when we connected,
Yeah.
that is what really lit me up in life. I don't know if you remember, like, I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks after you told me the vision of what you wanted to create that day. I
Yeah,
still
you've
remember
always said that. You're
moment.
too kind. I think
No,
we were
it's
just
so
so
true.
busy trying to do it, we didn't even know what we were doing.
No, and I just jumped on board, and
Yeah.
we were up to something, and
Yeah.
never looked back.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you for everybody.
Yeah. So so you guys are an absolute inspiration to, you know, just for me personally, because so many people have told us it's too late to get started. Like, I can't tell you how many
But
times.
you never
we hear-
told us that, or we might
No,
not have
well, we
started.
purposely leave that out. Yeah, we don't tell you that. Sorry, you were actually past the age, and you didn't. No, I'm joking. There is none of that. And so you guys are kind of like, an inspiration to me, seeing what you've done. Because sometimes I question myself, hey, if I have never got into this, would I, at that age? And you guys are doing it. So someone listening to this will pass this on. I know they will, to someone else. And you will have an impact beyond what you even know. And hopefully one day it comes back and someone says to you, hey, I heard you on this weird podcast and you changed our lives. I'm sure that will happen.
We got all 5 houses when we were on pension.
Yeah.
Oh,
Crazy.
wow.
Crazy. Yeah, good for you.
Somebody said that, like if you retire when you're 60 or anywhere in your 60s, you're probably going to live enough years for a whole new career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Like you're going to do something with your life. Make it
Agreed.
worthwhile.
Gives you some, agreed. And Leslie, thanks to you. You are an incredible woman. Like you are incredible. The things you do, the care that you have for people, how you take care of people. You set the bar, like I say
It's
earlier.
extraordinary.
Yes, we are all fortunate, and it's funny, we have a lot of different characters in this business, all different ages and personality types, but universally they all bow down to Leslie Kitchen. I don't know if she knows that, because yeah.
I know I'm
very
lucky.
humble.
I know I'm lucky to have her as my coach.
Yeah.
Worked out perfectly.
Yeah. So thank you. Appreciate this, guys. Steve, Margaret, Leslie, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Terms show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.